Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that now officially has less clean sheets than Rangers. This week on Heart and Hand, come on the cartel! So welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar, I'm your host, and I'm joined this week by long-term associate co-host, the second in command, my right hand, which means he's been up to some fairly unpleasant things lately. Yes, it's Mr. Scot van den Akker.
Hello, and by second in command, there's a big drop-off after command.
A long way, that's all I can say it in all honesty. A long way between Scot and here. So Scot, what have you been up to these last two international weeks? I know that you're a huge fan of the national team and all that goes with it.
Well, on BT Sport Extra, ESPN 72 HD, they had paint drying.
Yes.
And it was fascinating. So I watched the paint drying competition and,
Are you trying to claim that you're not someone who follows loyally to Azerbaijan and these other places, wherever it is that the national team go?
Well, my national team, I suppose, I've got two national teams, which is Scotland and Holland. And Holland are in their worst run of form for about 50 years. And Scotland are Scotland. So, not very glamorous at the moment. I wish I was Brazilian, or at least had a Brazilian.
I've said this before, you're a fucking jinx.
Me? Well, who could I start supporting? England. I'll start supporting England, and hopefully they won't win it. And they might, when you look at the array of talent they've got, like that guy up front, another one.
Yeah, that Harry Kane team, as they're known.
But he's good.
Harry Kane.
Do you think he's a Rangers fan?
I hope so, but unfortunately, he seems to be a Spurs fan, which is a drawback.
I thought maybe happened in his CV later in his career. Itchy wanted to scratch, that kind of thing. Maybe not. No, there's an ambition to have. We do have a striker at the moment that we'll discuss in a little while, or rather somebody's agency. But let's start with Friday night. Friday night fixtures. Before we talk about what transpired with the Friday night fixture, what are your views on them as a whole? Because we seem to play quite a few of them these days. I think we play too many of them. I like them. I think it's good for atmosphere, but we're involved in too many. I think they should vary it about. Maybe Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs. I think we've had 4 already, and it's 8 games in. I think it's too much for the supporters clubs, and it's too much for the fans who are leaving from work. And I think the fine would give us a wee break for a while. That's probably my opinion.
Okie doke. Well, moving on to the match itself, we go up to there. Now, it threatened, I thought, to be a potentially tricky match because St Johnstone have been, as I mentioned on the preview, they've finished in the top 4 the last 3 seasons. They are a decent side. They'll be there or thereabouts come the end of the season, and they're apparently taking offence at something Pedro had said earlier in the week. So it promised to be quite a tasty match, but in the end, Rangers, I thought, controlled the game, got the goals at good times, and then in the end ran out fairly deserved, comfortable winners.
To be honest, it was a lot less feisty, as you say, than I thought. It was quite a routine win. And I know you intend to come on to this later about the joys of routine wins.
Absolutely.
Which is something that we haven't really... It's not something we've experienced enough of. And I thought St Johnstone were shit, or terrible, sorry, almost swore.
We weren't much... Wait a minute, why are you caring about swearing? Since when have we ever given a fuck about swearing?
Well, when we first started, you told me to beware the F word, bomb.
That was 7 years ago. In
case it's...
And you've suddenly remembered.
I know, but we get sponsors now, like...
No, we don't. Don't.
I've just remembered after I've lost them. That's right. Okay, fuck off then. Big giant fannies. I thought Johnson were fucking shite, mate.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah, they were. But
I thought it was easier than I expected.
Yes, but you're one of these fans, big man, who does have this tendency that if we don't win, you say we're rubbish, and if we do win, you say the opposition were rubbish.
Yes, I think if you watch the game, it was a really low quality game for the most part, but we were better. And unlike last season, which is all we can judge it on, there was none of this heart and mouth terror. At no stage did I think we were going to lose the game. And that was okay, because a bit of a lack of excitement is fine if you're pretty safe. and I thought we'd won it from quite early doors. And as I say, we will move on to routine wins. And I thought it was one of those. It was surprised by how little St Johnstone were up for it, considering how they hated us apparently beforehand. I thought we pretty much coasted to a victory, David, coasted.
Should we not then, the fact that we did impose ourselves to such a degree on the match, the fact that we were able to control the match and, as you say, blunt St Johnstone to the point where, after a lot of big talk about how they were going to be flying out the blocks against us, we managed to shut all that down in a Friday night away game. They were bang up for it, live on TV. Everything was set for a battle, but we just squeezed that match, and I thought that a key part of that was Graham Dorrans and Jason Holt actually, but Graham Dorrans especially in the midfield, where you're right that there maybe wasn't as much quality in the final third as we would like, but we had absolutely closed the back door and won the midfield battle, I felt.
Crucial also was the fact that when St Johnstone managed to get a cross in, there wasn't the usual utter terror that last season's 40-50 games brought us. We just headed it away. And again, it's this thing you're not used to seeing. A cross would come in and we'd head it away. You thought, oh God, that's right. That's what you're supposed to do. And Dorrans was brilliant. Holt is an interesting one because people have decided that Jason Holt is surplus to requirements. So what that means is when Jason Holt has a good game, it's always underplayed, I thought Jason Holt was really good. Dorrans was utterly superb.
I think we're starting to see now what Dorrans has been bought for.
Yes. Dorrans had a great first game, and then in the middle, something wasn't quite right. Dorrans was fantastic on Friday, absolutely fantastic. And the way you'd want him to be, he switched play, he kept the ball, he joined the attack, he also screened the defence. You could tell he played at a higher level for years.
Yes.
And it was the first time in a while it's obvious that he was better than a lot of the players around him.
Yeah, I thought so, and I thought that I think he's coming into a game. I thought he played well the week before as well, and I think that he's starting to relax and just play his natural game. Whereas initially I thought he was maybe trying a little too hard to impress, and he was trying to do everything. And I think that when a midfielder, especially a midfielder, just relaxes. We saw it a lot with Warburton, where we had players who were trying to do too much, trying to do things they weren't capable of. And when they just relax and do what they're good at, then you begin to see the benefits of that. And I think that Dorrans is doing that. And you can't be a controlling midfielder and a box-to-box midfielder and a late-breaking midfielder. Unless you are Iniesta, you can't do all that. You have to just take a step back and say, right, I'm going to do A to C tonight rather than A to Z, but I'll do it really, really well, and hopefully that'll provide something that the team can build on. And I thought that Dorrans did that well, ably supported by Jack. See, I'm so caught up in Ryan Jack mania. Ably supported by Jason Holt. And I think that's a really good point, that because he was a stand-in and because he's been a player that was, let's be honest, a Warburton player. In the new era, people were kind of just waiting for him to finish. But he showed in his sub-appearance at Hamilton and then the other night that he can be a useful player for us. But moving on to a point you made there, Scott, and I think it's a very good one. We conceded 16 corners. Now, that sounds bad, and I suppose in a way it is, but a lot of them came from blocking crosses, which, as you know, is a real bugbear of mine when teams don't do it, especially when Rangers teams don't do it. And then 16 corners under Warburton meant 12 goals conceded, let's be honest. Whereas the other night, it didn't. The other night, as you say, there was a confidence. And Alves was excellent. It was one of his best games so far. But I also thought Fabio Cardoso stood up really well to the challenge. And for the first time since maybe the Dunfermline game, I thought, oh no, I can see what this boy's about.
He's got two major flaws to his game, David, at the moment, as we know. He lets the ball bounce too much when it's coming out the air. And as someone said last night to me at football, he's quite prone to pushing the back. Like, these silly fouls right in front of the ref?
Yeah.
He's really prone on the edge of the box and he just pushes someone over. And you think, why on earth did you do that? But yes, I thought he was really, really good on Friday. He's young and he is still learning. But sometimes it looks like he's never played defence. And other times, he said some games this season where I think he's the future of our back four.
Yeah.
He'll be the captain. And like so many of our players, and that's the thing, because we're still learning, trying to bring the squad together. There are players that at the moment are going from sublime to ridiculous, and he's one of them. And he probably needs a few more games with 7 out of 10, rather than 4 or 5 or 9. And
it goes back to what your point was, though, about routine, doesn't it? It goes back to exactly that, the kind of Sasa Papac, to the 7 out of 10 every week, because it will be enough. And you can't expect a player to play at his 100% every week. It's just unrealistic unless you have the very top players, and clearly we are not in a position to do that. But if you've got guys who can go out every week and give you a minimum 7 out of 10, that'll be enough in the SPFL for us. That will bring us more victories in run-of-the-mill matches, and then hopefully they can step it up when we do have the trips to Parkhead, to Tynecastle, to Pittodrie. That's what you're hoping for. And as I say, you might call it the Sasa Papac model.
And I would like to have a Sasa Papac model. And can you buy them?
No, because I don't. I think you might put it to illicit uses. I think you might do things to it that in co-op, show me on the Sasa Papac model where he touched you, kind of thing.
Are you going back to me being your used up right hand again?
Yes, there's an area that we probably shouldn't go into, but we've already went into 2 or 3 tonight, so what the fuck? I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it?
I don't want to go into Sasa Papac's area, though. I don't want to go into...
Well, you say that, but I bet you after he put that penalty away, you'd quite like to have touched Sasa Papac's special area.
I'd have taken one for the team.
You're taking one from the team that night, let's be honest.
Well, I also can I say one thing before we move on. Obviously, we need to cover routine and a few of the other players, including the player we're obviously going to talk about. But do you know what I saw the other night? You and I were watching the Milan derby.
Yes, excellent, wonderful game of football.
Crackingly good game. But for the first time in a while across Europe's leagues, I actually thought that Inter, it's not a million miles from what Pedro's trying to do. Now, they've got much better players, but if you look at it, it's a rugged defence who are very good at heading away set pieces. They vary and they try and get the ball forward very quickly at times, and they always try and get the ball wide to cross into the centre forward. Now, I know we can't compare players, but I've watched Bayern, I've watched Chelsea, I've watched the EPL. The closest I've seen to what Pedro is probably trying to do, actually strangely, is Inter. And if some of the people don't watch much Italian football, they play for sort of 3-3, and they play 2 wide players. They always get it wide to them as fast as they can, and they're not feared of getting it forward very quickly either, like sometimes the long ball. And they also play 2 quite rugged midfielders and a skillful one. And it's just interesting. It was almost like something like what we're trying to do. It's the first time I've actually seen someone else adopt that.
It's interesting though that you're breaking that down to a 4-3-3, whereas I would say at the moment, I can see where your argument would come in, but I think we tend to play more a 4-4-1-1 currently. But are you saying that you think that it's... I don't know, are you saying that it's a case of that it's meant to be a 4-3-3, it's just looking like that, or are you saying that it's a flexible system that can go to a 4-4-1-1 or a 4-3-3 when we have the ball?
I think it's a 4-5-1 when we don't have the ball. But I think Windass and Candias are meant to get up when we have the ball. And I think they're meant to look for it wide, as if they can get it and get it across as soon as they can from where else. Which is what Inter do. Inter have got 2 fantastic wide players who do support the fullback. They fall back, but they're instantly looking for the ball. The minute Inter win possession, they're looking to get the ball wide. And I think we have problems in the fact that our left side isn't as strong, obviously, and I'm not really a Windass fan, but yeah, I think it's a 4-5-1 becoming a 4-3-3. I know you're saying about, we're about to talk about this, where does he fit in, what does he do, but who is this? But I do think it's the midfield is a 3 with 1 holding, 1 covering everywhere, and 1 up front. But the 1 attacking midfielder has, as you've alluded to and we're about to talk about now, become a striker, really. And I don't know if that's a plan. Let's talk about the man himself, Solglo.
Yeah.
Let's have it.
He's an odd player, isn't he? Because that's 4 goals and 6. And you cannot deny that he's contributing, because he of course he is. It's there in black and white. It's in the stat books. And the 2 finishes the other night were beautiful. I mean, fantastic, but not easy. And he made them look easy. He made them look effortless. For the first goal, to the control on it, the timing of the run was perfect. He arrived exactly where he should, and controlling the finish, absolutely beautiful. Then the second goal, exactly the same, sees what's happening, peels off perfectly, and then just guides the header exactly where it needs to go to be a goal. And then at other times, he traps the ball further than most players can kick it. Or he'll try to... There was, though, an interesting stat that apparently he gives the ball away, he fails to complete a pass less than, I think, probably everyone in the squad, according to the stats guys. Yet it doesn't feel that way sometimes. It feels like he gives the ball away constantly, but the stats don't back that up. And like I say, I think he's a conundrum of a footballer, and maybe we just have to accept, Scott, that this is a guy who, for 87 minutes of a match, might do absolutely nothing except drive you mad. But in the other 3 minutes of the match will produce moments of sublime quality that other people on the field simply aren't capable of.
I just hope it doesn't weaken the midfield, because my friend Gibby, who was at the game, he said, look, he's a second striker. It was obvious to everyone at the game. He comes alive in the box. His finishing was superb. But when he drops back to be part of the midfield, some of his passing and control is, as you said, it's like... I don't know, it's like he's won a game through Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's hard to see the footballer, but then in the box, backing up Morelos, he comes alive. And as you say, it's almost a goal a game. And I don't know what we do with him. I'm just hoping that the fact that he comes alive in the box and he's so far forward all the time, I hope against better opposition. Like, we're playing Aberdeen back-to-back, we're playing Hearts and Hibs soon, and I wonder if they'll spot a gap between him and Dorrans and Jack, presumably, and maybe exploit it, because he's either been a little bit ineffectual or he's in the box trying to bang in a goal.
But maybe if you've got a player like that, Scott, with that ability, because it's the old cliche, but it's true, it's the hardest thing in the game is to put the ball in the back of the net, and here is a guy who clearly can do that, and as you say, comes alive in the box. A great description, a great thing to be as a man, someone who can come alive in the box, but in general, but also for a footballer.
See when you were at Stirling Uni,
yes,
you came alive in boxes quite a lot, didn't you?
Yes.
After a night out,
yes, to my detriment. Eventually, that one kind of, I don't know if I've ever told the story on here. I went away to live at Stirling Uni. My first year at uni, I went away to live at Stirling Uni, and I was 17. It was September. I didn't turn 18 till the November. And they're mixed dorms at Stirling, or they were certainly in the 90s. And there were 8 girls in my sort of corridor, and I shagged 7 of them. And I don't want to make it that I was like Don Juan or anything. It's just that, there's fuck all else to do in Stirling except drink and have sex with people. But it did make, by the end of the year, like walking into the kitchen, the shared kitchen, really awkward. So at the end of that year, I actually transferred to a different university. When my mother gave me the fabulous piece of advice on my first day going to Strathclyde Uni, she went, "You better no be at the fanny." So, yes.
Who was the one that got away?
She was not a looker, and even drunk. No, and to be honest, my standards when drunk weren't huge. But she did that thing, like, when I was really drunk, she would say, "Well, what's wrong with me?" And I'm like, "Well, right now it's the fact you're saying what's wrong with me." That's kind of off-putting, Can I
say one thing in your defence? So, nowadays you wouldn't get away with that because you'd be guilty of the sexism.
Why?
Because apparently having sex with women is sexist now.
Well, I'm not having sex with men just to not be a sexist.
You have to.
No, I'm not. You've got me with this before, right? And we're not repeating that. That you've got me with that. This happened before, and I'm not doing it again. But look, Scott, we're not here to kink shame, okay? Right? We're here to talk about football. So if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to talking about Carlos Pena, right? Rather than places my Willie was 20 years ago.
Okay, well, should he get a haircut? Okay, should he get a haircut?
Well, why?
Because it's a bit silly.
Says you.
Let's not get hair.
You look like fucking Douglas Hurd.
There's nothing wrong with looking at Douglas Hurd. Says Mrs. Hurd.
Yes. Mrs. Hurd, right? When she's shagging Douglas, she dreams of Carlos Pena. That is a fact.
Damn.
Right, back to the actual game. See the job I have here, trying to keep you in the straight and narrow when you're trying to get me off the straight and narrow in particular. But getting back to the game, surely if you've got a guy who can put the ball in the back of the net, that your job as a manager is to say, okay, I'm going to allow him that little bit of space. I'm going to allow him the fact that we've got to plan round him, and we've got solid midfielders behind him. We've got guys there. You never need to worry about the work rate of Daniel Candeas. That's take that off the table. That guy will.
We need a left-sided Candeas, by the way.
Yes, we do. I think Windass is going into what I call Ian Black mode, which is he's been marginally less bad, and people are somehow equating that to him being good. And it's not that he's been good, he's just not been as bad as he's been. So it's like he's gone from playing 3 out of 10 to 4 or 5 out of 10. And people go, oh, he's getting better. And technically they're right, but it's still not the required standard. And again, going back to a theme earlier, it's not that 7 out of 10. And I do think we need someone. And maybe, when Lee Wallace is fit, Declan John could push into that role. And I think then you've got the security. And also Alfredo Morelos, who had another good game the other night, because even when Morelos is not scoring, what he does is he occupies defenders and he causes a headache. So I think between the 4 guys you could put across the middle and the one guy playing, up front on his own technically, your second striker can be granted that bit more licence if he will regularly deliver you something special.
Or, looking at young McCrory, would you consider a 3-5-2? In the sense that you'd sort of actually have Pena hanging about up front more, and maybe play the forward sweeper, maybe McCrory be a forward sweeper, and pack your midfield that way, so he didn't have to track back and there wasn't a gap. So you're asking less of him. And as you've said about a lot of the players, ask them to do what they can do. So rather than him being box to box as well, he would play further forward, and you'd bring the midfield forward by having, if you like, a back 3 with a forward sweeper. Would that work to give him the space to operate and not ask him to track back all the time?
I think it could. I mean, theoretically, and I think that one of the reasons why I've been, if not supportive, because I like the way we're playing now, and I think something that does need pointed out, Scott, is last season the amount of goals that we are scoring would have taken us a month rather than a game. And that's 7 away goals in 2 matches. Now, okay, not the strongest side in Hamilton, but St Johnstone are a good SPFL team. 7 away goals under Mark Warburton was just not happening. So, yeah, we could do with locking the back door a bit more, but at least fans are going to get the entertainment value of guys getting forward and scoring goals. But the reason I've been intrigued by a 3-5-2 is I do think we've got 3 good centre halves. I do think that then you can cover for each other. And the guys that we've got at full-backs, I think, are tailor-made to be wing-backs. Then the question is the midfield, and are you going to lose effectiveness of certain players by putting players into that formation? And also there's the when do you try it out argument, although we did the other night, interestingly, the last 10 minutes. We ended the game playing that way. So I don't think it's unfair to suggest that it's something that's on Pedro's mind, because otherwise where did that come from?
I also think McCrory's ideal because he's not only a good defender, but you notice he's really aggressive. And seeing that role, if you like, almost like the sweeper but in front, he loves a tackle, he loves a challenge, he loves mouthing into players, and he's quite good in the ball. And I could see if he was at the base, and obviously Pena would be up front, and then you could have Jack and Dorrans being the 2 proper, if you like, centre midfielders, doing slightly different jobs. I think it could work. And I think the problem we've had under Warburton, especially, you and I talked about it all last season, he asked players to do what they couldn't do. And he asked the team to do what they couldn't do as a team. And I think asking Pena to score a goal a game, but then also track back 40, 50 yards when we don't have the ball every time, I'm not sure we should even bother trying to get him to do that. Why not, as you say, an attacker? I think maybe we try and work around that. Maybe we try and look at what people can do, what their strengths are. And as you've also hinted, Declan John and Tavernier are much happier bombing forward as well. And can I say a word to Tav? Tav's had a lot of shit on websites and social media this season. I thought his crossing was brilliant on Friday, especially for Pena's goals and a few other crosses. It was absolutely brilliant to see him on form again.
I thought that was the best attacking James Tavernier we have seen since the initial burst Friday night. I really did. I thought he looked dangerous, and I thought that he put panic into that St Johnstone backline every time he went forward. And you're right, the accuracy of his crosses this season as a whole has improved, I'd say dramatically, as shown by the assists he's getting this season.